Okay, so are you guys able to see this chart right here?
Mm-hmm.
You're able to see my screen, right? So this is what a Vedic chart looks like. This is your this is your D1 chart. It can either say Rashi chart or you can say D1 chart, one of the above. But when you guys open up Astro Sage, this is a paid software, so it's a different story. But I'm just letting you know that this is what it's going to look like. Okay. Don't get into the second chart and all the stuff on the left side, but this is what it's going to look like. Um, it's also known as the North Indian chart or as the diamond chart. This this diamond here at the top is the first house. I'm assuming you guys would know where the houses fall. First house, and then you're gonna move in a counterclockwise fashion all the way to the 12th house. Okay. So this is your first sign. In order to understand, in order to be proficient at Vedic astrology, you have to have your signs down pat. As in, what sign is the first sign? See how it doesn't say Aries here? In the Western chart, you would see the Aries symbol, the Ram symbol here, and then Taurus symbol, Gemini symbol, and so on. In the Indian charts, it works slightly differently. In the first house, you see the numbers. First sign of the zodiac is Aries. Second sign is Taurus. Third sign is, and so onwards. Okay, but keep in mind if someone like Annette is a Scorpio, then this is what it's going to look like, right? Scorpio is the eighth sign of the zodiac, so the eighth sign would fall in the first house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house, and so on, all the way, leading up to the 12th house. And just to kind of give you a very brief overview, right, just so you guys have an idea as to how this works. Just like in Western astrology, there are also progressions in the Eastern astrology. And the progressions tell you what time period you're currently running, right? It's like, for example, if this was a person's chart, this is the time period they would be running right now. Their major time period would be Ketu, and they're currently running their Ketu in Venus up until February 22nd, 2025, right? So whatever promises or um, whatever results probably the right word, whatever results Venus is to deliver in this person's chart will be delivered up until, see, Venus up until April, I mean, yeah, April 8th, 2026. And then their time period, which is known as dashas, is going to switch from Venus to Sun, right? So this is a very basic glance of how chart reading is done in Vedic astrology. Someone just said, Adrian, hi, I think I'll thank you. So this is what an Indian chart looks like. Very, very simple. It's simple. It may not look simple to you right now, but it is very simple. Any questions just by looking at this right here?
I
Nothing?
mean, we're not used to it by looking at it, but from what you
Yeah.
explained, I understand that hey, you can rotate, and that's how you
You
can.
guys probably not gonna get into the whole rotation thing, but just by looking at this chart, you'll be able to tell. So these are the planets sitting in the houses, right? Mars is currently retrograde, so this is showing us Mars with an R being retrograde, right? And I think it's great the way this works. I've seen a lot more accuracy as compared to Western. I've gotten some readings done by some Western people, hit or miss. Everyone's going to be a hit or miss to an extent. No one's going to be 100% obviously. But when it comes to Vedic astrology, I've found that the accuracy has been very, very, very good, right? And the second technique is talking about, which is known as Nadi astrology. Okay, Nadi astrology, which is a South Indian technique. It focuses a lot more. You guys can look it up if you want to. NADI astrology. It focuses a lot more on conjunctions and trines, right? If you guys are Western astrologers, you guys would know what a trine is, obviously, right? So I'm going to give you a very basic example here. Here, Venus and Rahu sitting together. Ignore Neptune. Okay. Ignore Neptune. Is someone in a birth chart? Just give me an example according to Nadi astrology. We have Venus and Rahu sitting together. Rahu is your north node. If whoever doesn't know what north node represents, it's the north node of your moon. Your moon has two nodes, north and south. North, and south. Just an example how Nadi astrology works is if you have Venus sitting with Rahu in someone's birth chart. If you have it in your birth chart, you can go back to your birth chart and check it for yourself. People with this combination, very simple. You just connect the meanings of those two planets. Venus represents, amongst many things, Venus represents your wealth. Okay, your money. Rahu represents a few different things. One of the things it represents is insecurity. Okay. If you find this in someone's birth chart, you can tell them this person may be highly insecure. Nothing negative. It's pretty common nowadays. There's insecurity related to wealth in this person's birth chart. Or Venus also, so for a male, Venus also represents their wife, their spouse, female wife. We all know Venus represents females. Rahu also represents corruption. So this person should be careful selecting their spouse because there's corruption and female. There's a connection between corruption and females in this chart. At the same time, you could also say if this is wealth, Venus is wealth, Rahu is corruption. Either this person's making money through corruption or he's going to get scammed at some point in their life, right? So this is a very basic understanding of how Nadi astrology works. I'm a big fan of Nadi astrology, and that's how I do most of my readings. But Vedic astrology is what we want to practice. Okay. Any questions based on this? Nicholas has been quite very quiet, but that's because he's not able to talk. Arsema, I haven't heard from Arsema yet. Okay. Any other questions?
What's Fortuna? Looking on the top left box, you've got the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, the Rahu, the Ketu. What's Fortuna? The bottom one.
Fortuna is not something we use in Vedic astrology much. It's more so used in Western astrology. It shows where your point of fortune lies. Okay. Sorry, my mic doesn't work either. It's okay. I'm sorry. Like it's just given. I don't use Fortuna. If you see here, I don't. Yeah, right here. Fortuna. Point of fortune in the third house. FO. Don't use it. I don't use it. I don't even really use Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, unless I'm dealing with someone's vastu and I'm trying to figure out where, if I can So the way Vastu works is, the way Astro Vastu is going to work, each house also represents a certain direction of your house. If I'm finding Mercury is placed in a certain direction of someone's house, and it's afflicted by Saturn, for example, Saturn is an affliction. It's an affliction. Saturn is a malefic planet. It's afflicted by Saturn. Sun is a mild malefic. I am going to find Mercury-related stuff in this direction of their house, surrounded by articles that represent Sun and Saturn. Okay. That's the only time, sorry to throw you guys off, but that's the only time I would use Uranus, Neptune, Pluto to find objects. And oftentimes, I've found these objects to be placed outside your house, not inside your house, because these are outer planets and not inner planets. But anyways, that's a little bit of an Astrovastu. But back to this table here is maybe a little more advanced. I think it was Francesca who asked the question. Okay. So this is just your basic planets here. This tells me what sign they're in, right? Sun is in the 11th sign, which is Aquarius. So therefore, you're going to see SU next to 11 in your 4th house. 1st house, 2nd house, 3rd house, 4th house, right? The next column here represents your degrees. It shows you what degrees they're at, right? So Sun is at 9 degrees, 45 minutes, and 58 minutes and 41 seconds. This just tells you how many degrees. When and if you get into the advanced levels, you'll understand what degrees mean. Like, for example, where it comes in really handy is Scorpio, for example, is a fixed sign, right? If a planet is sitting in Scorpio, it's sitting in a fixed sign. Sagittarius is a dual sign, which means the first half, the first 15 degrees are going to be fixed. And the other 15 degrees are going to be cardinal. Western calls it cardinal, Indian calls it movable. So say, for example, Moon is sitting in Sagittarius here. Moon is sitting at 0 degrees Sagittarius. Can anyone tell me whether it's fixed or movable?
Movable, isn't it?
Well, mutable, sorry, I'm trying to remember the exact definition of mutable. Mutable was, well, Sagittarius is mutable because it's dual, right? Dual sign. But even dual is split into two. The first half of dual is fixed. So if we look at this sign, we look at this house, or look at this sign, okay? If there's a planet, it's a dual. Dual means it holds the energy of both fixed and movable. Something that's fixed or something that can be moved, right? The first 15 degrees, because each sign is given 30 degrees. So if a planet is sitting in the first 15 degrees of a sign, it's fixed. If it's sitting 16 onwards, it is going to be movable or cardinal. In this case, Moon is, if we check the degrees of Moon, because you want to know what the degrees do, it's on 0.00 degrees, 51 minutes, 36 seconds. Forget the minutes and seconds. 0 degrees. 0 degrees means it's at the very beginning. If it's the very beginning, Moon is at a fixed point right now. Another thing you guys should keep in mind is that if you're ever reading birth charts, if you ever find a planet at a very, very early degree, it's still expressing its interest of the previous house because it's at a very, very early degree. It hasn't fully moved into this. Although it has moved into the sign, it's at a very early degree. So you can also consider it in the first house, but those are a little later on / advanced techniques. But okay, just to give you again back to the point that you're asking, 0 degrees, 0 degrees moon tells me it's at a fixed location still. Anyone know anything about Sagittarius? What Sagittarius represents, what it means? Anyone knows what moon represents? The moon sign, a lot of people talk about the moon sign.
The mother emotions.
Yes, emotions. The mother definitely because um, moon is the original owner of the fourth house. So yes, it represents mother. It represents emotions. Emotions is what I was looking for, right? With someone with moon in Sagittarius, Sagittarius being a fire sign, for example. Fire sign, right? Everyone knows that Sagittarius is a fire sign.
It's in detriment.
So moon being in, yeah, detriment. You're talking about if you're talking about Western, I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. It
Um,
just means like fire sign being in the moon, it's not happy there.
yeah, it's a very good point. Moon is a watery sign sitting in a fire sign. So moon is not a watery sign. Moon is a watery planet. My bad. But to kind of give you an understanding, when someone's got moon in the second house, right? Second house represents your wealth. Second house represents money. Moon sitting in the second house, money. This person's mind revolves around wealth, material security. Second house, material security. Second house is also your family. Moon second is sitting in the seventh house. Um, Likes to hoard things because it's your accumulated wealth. Wherever moon sits, it tells you how you feel emotionally stable because moon is your emotions. This person with moon in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is a fiery sign, this person could be of fiery, mentally of fiery in nature, right? Fiery in nature, hot-headed. But when is he going to get hot-headed? He or she, when are they going to be hot-headed? They're going to be hot-headed when you tell them they're wrong, or if you don't agree with them. Why is that?
Emotions. Emotions?
Well, moon is emotionally stable. Let's forget about the house. Emotionally stable in the side of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is owned by Jupiter. Jupiter is knowledge. When someone has a lot of Sagittarius in their chart, especially their rising sign, even your sun sign, but it's even sun sign, but sun is your core. Rising sign is how you appear, right? If someone's got a Sagittarius rising and they tell you something and you tell them, you try to challenge them, okay, rising sign, you'll see it. Oftentimes you'll see it. Oftentimes you'll see if their Sagittarius is rising, and if someone tells them they're wrong, you will see that they're getting a little pissed off. Okay, unless their Jupiter is sitting in a house that shows you that they don't really like to show how they're feeling. But they are going to dislike. A Sagittarius rising is going to dislike if you challenge their knowledge because Jupiter is knowledge. When moon goes into Sagittarius, you're going to sense that they're emotionally starting to get a little shaky when you challenge their beliefs. Unless there's a benefic aspect of Jupiter and other benefic planets. Okay, there's ways to have a good moon or a negative moon. Oh, Nicholas has a Sagittarius rising. I bet you're not gonna agree to this though. Um, so a moon in Sagittarius, right? I've had many times Sagittarius rising people, moon in Sagittarius, sun in Sagittarius. It's very interesting how the behavior comes out. I used to travel with a guy. He's not, I didn't used to, I still travel. He's my travel partner. And if their Jupiter is afflicted, okay, you got to also keep in mind that, okay, their moon is in Sagittarius. Is it Sagittarius, the Lord of Sagittarius, is it well placed or is it not well placed? If it's weak, if the moon is weak, they're going to show their negative side. You tell someone who's a moon Sagittarius, say you're driving down the highway, and you tell them, "Hey, I'm going to make a quick stop at this gas station, maybe pick up something to eat, fill up." They're going to have a hard time agreeing with you, even if they want to stop. They're going to say no, but then they're going to agree with you. A typical example would be, say if you say to this person, I'm gonna make a quick stop at Subway because I'm hungry. It could turn into a, no, I think you're right. No, I think, yeah, you know what, it's not a bad idea. Because it's afflicted, it's showing its negative side. The reason is he or she saying no, he's telling you that you're wrong and I'm right before they agree with you. That's how the moon is going to respond. That may also be possible with Sagittarius Sun, because Sun is the ego. What about Leo Moon? Leo Moon in 11th house. Oh boy. Leo Moon. So you always got to see like what the moon represents, what the sign represents. Leo's I don't have I have a lot of friends who are Leo. Arsama, LOL. Okay. Moon in Leo. Think about it. Moon is going to feel comfortable whether you are going to agree to this or not, Arsama. Moon feels comfortable when they are center stage, unless their sun is damaged. Okay? When their sun is damaged, because Leo is ruled by sun, here's the funny part. If their sun is strong, they're going to be open about it. I want to be center of attention simply because sun is the center of the solar system, right? When Leo does not get the attention and they are vocal and they're open about it, they can get aggressive. If they're sitting in a room and they're not getting any attention, they after some time they may leave or they may start to dislike the class. Moon in Leo. Now you're talking about a Western chart. You could be a Leo, you could also be Cancer, right? Because if you are one side behind, one sign behind, it will put you into Cancer. But if you are Leo, Moon in Leo, oh boy, I have a lady friend who is Moon in Leo, and if we're sitting at a restaurant and if people are on their phone not paying attention to what she's saying, it can get very she can get very aggressive and vulgar. Extremely. Me and her butt heads all the time. Because I have my son in the first house, which is owned by Leo, and she's Leo Moon. And I say to her all the time, man, I can't give you attention all the time. I can give you attention sometimes, but not all the time. So Moon in Leo tells you attention, wants to be center of attention, definitely hot-minded, hot-headed. If they tell you they're not, they're lying. Moon in Leo. 11th house, right? You can definitely have, now it's going to get a little deep. 11th house is your friends, network circle. When you have Leo in the 11th house, it also tells you that your friends are going to be of that nature, that want respect. Sun wants respect. When Moon goes into the 11th house, these people often can feel, if it actually is in the 11th house, These people will. Now here's the fun part. 11th house is a network circle. Leo sign is attention. You put these people in a network or a friend settings where there's a whole bunch of friends sitting there. These guys are gonna want to be center of attention. If they're not, they won't like it. If they're not getting the attention they want, they will not like it. But this is how the moon's placement will tell you how you feel emotionally balanced, and how you're going to lose your emotional cool is what your moon's going to tell you. But not just the sign, also what other planets are aspecting it, right? If you look at this chart, you see moon sitting right here, and then you see Mars sitting right across from it. This person, Mars is the planet of aggression. Mars is looking right at moon. This person right here, whoever was born, extremely hot-headed, ready to, especially aspect by a retrograde Mars, extremely hard-headed. This person, however, may or may not show it because he's a Scorpio rising. Are you able to agree? Would you agree on that? Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Is,
I think you
is
came
any of
myself.
that matching? How's do you get angry easily? Just if you want to share.
I used to when I was a child, but now as I progressed with, inner like reflection, yeah, now I'm not. Now I'm very mellow now.
Very mellow.
Hmm.
And how's it at just a general question? How do you feel? Do you feel good at home, or do you feel anxious at home in your domestic?
No, no anxiety. I used to, but no anxiety. I'm
You're
lovely at
used to.
home.
You're used to.
Yeah,
Used to
yes.
feeling
As a
good.
child.
Hmm.
As a child, it was it was horrible.
Okay.
But now, I'm
There's a
getting
reason
better.
I'm saying this, and this is known as the Hori chart. Whatever we just pulled out here at 948 is, and this is a Hori chart. If you guys ever, 1 second. All right, so there is absolutely nothing a birth chart cannot give you. Absolutely nothing. If someone is not able to give you the kind of details you're looking for, it's because that person, I'm not perfect. No one is perfect. That person is probably not up to par or is not as experienced. There's absolutely nothing a birth chart can give you. Nothing. I have a very good friend, as I said, who is a psychic, and me and him are very, very good friends. He was not he was not into astrology until he met me, and then it's something he never used to believe in. Now he does, and we get together, do readings for each other, and we try to connect both sides. And he was definitely not a believer of Vastu, but now he is.
Mm.
Arsana, if you're not, if yes, can be bothered, but is not too comfortable of being center of attention. What that tells me, Arsana, so we're just talking about Moon and Leo. Okay, Arsana is saying, I do not feel comfortable being center of attention. You know what that would mean is, there's no way in hell Moon and Leo does not want to be a center of attention. It's not possible. Okay? The reason you are feeling uncomfortable being in the center of attention because your sun either may be damaged because your moon is in Leo and it could be in the 12th house. 12th house is behind the scenes, Your moon could be in the 12th, or sun could be in the 12th, or it could be aspected by a planet who's in the 12th, right? When moon is in Leo, as I said, is not afflicted, it will show you the Leo in them very openly. Any other questions on this? What you guys see here? So yeah, so this shows you the planets. This will show you the what signs the planets are sitting. The degree, the location of the planets is shown right here. This is now you're getting into a little bit of the three rows, the three columns here, RL, STL, and SL are not generally used in Vedic astrology. I use it for a different technique, but just to let you guys know, what it does is Rashi Lord means sign lords, right? It's the sign lord. So Sun is sitting in Aquarius, and the Lord of Aquarius is Saturn. Therefore, you see SA here. And then we get into constellations, which are known as nakshatras in the Indian astrology. Has anyone ever heard of nakshatras? No. It just gives you a little more deeper details of the condition of Sun, because Sun is in Aquarius, but there's 30 degrees wide span of Aquarius. There's millions of people born in Sun and Aquarius, and they're gonna have slightly different. Say someone is in Sun and Moon in Aquarius, right? Moon in Aquarius, very intellectual and humanitarian. But even within that, there's 30 degrees. So within those 30 degrees, there are several different constellations, right? So Sun is in the sign of Saturn, but in the constellation of Rahu, and then there is a Up Nakshatra, which is known in Hindi. It's a further detail, further finer detail as to exactly where that planet is placed. So Saturn is going to tell me a certain something about his sun, which is what you guys typically look at when someone says, I'm a Capricorn. They say, okay, my sun is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is owned by Saturn. But where exactly in Saturn? In the constellation of Rahu. But we're exactly in the constellation of Rahu. In the sub-constellation of Jupiter. We're exactly in the sub-constellation of Jupiter. In the moon sub-constellation. And you go all the way up to the fifth level if you want to go down to that level. But those levels are going to be explored. Anything past the third level is going to be explored if your time of birth is exactly accurate. Very, very accurate. Do we have any crazy questions come to mind?
Hi, yeah. Sorry, Francesca. I was wondering what one does if you don't know your exact time of birth or can't find that out.
Then you can resort to the Hori chart. Okay, there's several different ways to cast a Hori chart. If someone was to come to me and tell me I don't have my time of birth. Some people don't even have their date of birth, to be honest. I'll ask them what their question is, what their area of concern is. I will tell them to focus on their concern, their question, and give me that comes to their mind randomly. Randomly. Okay, it's not going to be a lucky number. It's not a number written on your TV or your door. Number that comes to your mind randomly. And then I'm going to go here. 1 second. See, Hori chart?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that number here and I'll create a chart and it'll tell me everything about their question. That's one way of answering someone's question if the people who don't have their time of birth or date of birth, or my mom, for example, doesn't have a date of birth. My buddy who's 77 years old, the psychic, does not know his date of birth. So there's many people that don't have their time of birth. This is one technique. Nadi astrology, as I told you, is a perfect technique to use if you don't have your time of birth. There's a lot of things that you can tell about a person, even if they don't have their time of birth. If you just have the day and even like a rough understanding of whether it was in the morning or afternoon or in the evening, you can give them a pretty good idea as to what's going on. Because in Nadi astrology, it matters less as to what house your planets are placed in. It matters more what sign your planets are placed in. And if you know the date of birth, no planet's going to move within one day except. You still here? I don't know how I lost everyone, but.
I'm still here. Yeah.
Yep, I'm still here. My screen froze, but it's come back
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Can you guys still see the chart?
No.
No.
Let's see if we can take him back. So, as I was saying, if someone doesn't have their time of birth, like if they don't have their date of birth, then I would have to go with the number they're giving me, or I'm going to resort to my tarot cards or some other cards, or a bit of both. When I don't have their date of birth, don't not even the date of birth, I get the number they give me, and then I'm playing with cards at the same time. But say, just talking about astrology, if someone doesn't have their time of birth, what's going to happen is that by using Nadi astrology, okay, as you guys probably wrote it down, Nadi astrology. I love Nadi astrology. What it would do is you would look at the planets in signs. You won't focus on the houses. Because the time of birth, what it does is it switches the houses, it moves the houses around. But the planets are not going to change their signs. Right? The planets are not going to change their signs. The only troublesome planet here becomes Moon, because it changes the sign every 2.5 days. So even then, chances are it's going to be in the same sign. If somebody wants to get their reading done and doesn't have their time of birth, Nadi astrology can do a great job. Other than that, the Hori chart, as I told you, getting a number from them, does a great job.
Can I ask a question about the moon changing signs?
Mm-hmm.
So when the moon changes every couple of days, does that mean that the moon's effect is within the sign that it's in, or does your own signs and placements then affect how the moon affects you? Do you see what I mean?
So now you're getting into transits, Francesca. Right? Transits, it's a good question. You're getting into transits. Transits, what they do is, so say this is your birth chart. Okay?
Sorry?
I'm not saying this is your birth chart. Say this is your birth chart. If you're born with Moon in Sagittarius, you're always going to be Moon in Sagittarius. You're always going to be Moon in Sagittarius. You are born in with a Moon in Sagittarius, but say today, Moon happens to be in Taurus, which is the second sign. Say Moon is here.
Mm-hmm.
You are still going to be Moon in Sagittarius. You're still going to be the person that we had discussed. What happens with Moon in Sagittarius? Now now we get into advanced. I'm just going to give you a very basic overview, but this is actually very advanced. Say this is your seventh house. Not say this is the seventh house. Okay? If Moon has moved and is currently sitting in Taurus, This is Taurus. So Moon is currently sitting in the seventh house, in your seventh house, because this is your chart, and Taurus falls in your seventh house. Therefore, when Moon is transiting and moving around, and you want to know what's happening today, Moon is sitting here. Moon is sitting here. What then? When you find out, what does the seventh house represent? Seventh house represents your relationships. Seventh house represents your spouse, business activities, your day-to-day transactions, day-to-day interactions is the seventh house. So you'll be dealing with those kind of things more for those 2.5 days. See what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
But then there's more to it. There's more than just the moon in the sky, right? What if the transiting Mars is also sitting in Taurus, right? Mars is also sitting here, and Moon is also sitting here, because they can both be sitting in the same sign if you think about it. Now, when Mars, which represents conflicts and possible fights and lots of energy, maybe there could be some fist fights or some. I'm joking, not fist fights. There could be some argument, some anxiety, because when Moon and Mars sit together, it shows anxiety. If this was some person's chart, I would tell them they have anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety, Moon and Mars looking at each other. You see this?
Okay.
Moon and Mars anxiety. What's the anxiety about? There's some anxiety with second house and eighth house related stuff. Eighth house shows me sudden events, uncertainties. Second house tells me wealth. When someone has their moon in the second house, they are very, I don't know if money minded is the right word, although it is. But when it's aspected of Mars from the eighth house, which is uncertainty, problems, there's some problems going on with finances, right? So back to your question, Moon is switching signs. Moon tells you transit of Moon is very good for predicting daily events because it's the fastest moving planet. So if Moon's moving through your birth chart, and wherever it is on a specific day, it tells you what you'll be dealing with on that day.
Hmm.
But also, it also matters what other planets are looking at it, sitting next to it, you know, sitting with it. All that good stuff matters. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything? And is any other questions based on this? What you see here?
So many questions. I mean, sorry. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it. So it just has to do a lot of research. That's all.
That's fine. We'll give another 5 minutes
Yeah.
for questions, if anything's coming to mind.
So, Jenny, I have a quick question. So, if we were born with like very negative planetary, certain planets in like a house that's like, for example, I have Venus in K2 in my 12th. Are there remedies for that, or is that just Vastu?
Well, Vastu is a form of remedy, first of all, right? If someone's got their Venus and Ketu sit in the 12th house, if someone's got their Venus Ketu, first of all, you need to understand what Venus and Ketu is, right? We discussed Venus and Rahu. And Venus and Ketu is the opposite. Venus and Rahu shows insecurity with money, okay? And Venus Ketu shows that this person can be more free spirited when it comes to money, okay? And if they're not, money is going to be slipping through their hands because Ketu is detachment. Ketu is the south node of the moon. It represents detachment. Okay, so I'm going to tell you one remedy just to give you an idea as to how remedies work if it's not Vastu related. When someone's got their Venus, which is wealth, and Ketu represents detachment. Venus represents money, Ketu represents detachment, and if you're practicing the opposite, which is attachment, money's going to be slipping through your palms because you're not listening to Ketu. Ketu wants you to detach yourself from wealth. If you hold on to wealth, it's going to be slipping through your hands. Okay? Slipping through the cracks. But if you listen to your chart, Venus, Ketu is saying it wants you to detach yourself mentally, okay? It's more about the mind game here. It wants you to detach yourself mentally from your wealth. It wants you to not think about wealth 24/7. So if you have a Venus and Ketu conjunction happening, first of all, if someone has a Venus Ketu conjunction in their birth chart, it's telling them that they need to let go of the thought of hoarding wealth, accumulating wealth, making wealth. The more, okay, so Venus and Ketu, that's what it wants. When you listen to Ketu, when you let go of the desire of wealth, wealth will come to you.
Mm,
Okay?
mhm.
Now, when it sits in the 12th house, you got to ask yourself, what does 12th house represents? What does 12th house represent? 12th house is a few different things. It is the foreign country, foreign lands. It also shows donations, letting go of things. So when Venus and Ketu together in the 12th house, it's definitely 12th house is also the house of letting go. When Venus and Ketu come together in the 12th house, it tells you that a donation and letting go of a thought of wealth may be very beneficial to you. And then the sign plays a role in what the chart is and what other planets are aspecting it, right? Everything plays a huge role. But just Venus and Ketu, talking about remedies, the best remedy would be to listen to your chart. If your chart is Venus, Ketu, and Venus is wealth, and Ketu is telling you to let go of wealth, you listen to your chart, wealth will come. You have a Venus Ketu combination in your chart. You're totally thinking about chart. Are you thinking about money 24/7? It will not stay. It will not come. If it comes, it will not stay.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. That's a remedy. That's a form of remedy, right? There's many remedies.
Can I ask a quick question? Is Venus and also about love? I noticed you've
Venus,
gone straight onto wealth with her question. I wondered, is not Venus about love and romance? And
Francesca, for a male chart, Venus represents spouse, so therefore you can say love. Yes. Okay.
male as in not female?
Spouse, female spouse. Yes. Wealth as well as female spouse. Venus also represents, I was just giving them an example of an example of Venus. Venus also represents luxuries and things that you enjoy.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It does. But trust me, when you get charts, people won't be talking about detachment. They won't be talking about nirvana and moksha and whatnot. The majority of the chart, I don't know about you, when it comes to mediums, it's slightly different. When it comes to other sort of readers like myself or astrologers, the main questions that are going to come your way are wealth, relationships, and maybe health. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, luxury. When it comes to luxury, Venus represents luxury. Venus does represent relationship, what you enjoy, right? So when Venus sits with Ketu, you can definitely say that this person enjoys Ketu related things, whether it's spirituality, whether it's the occult, tarot cards, right? Astrology falls into Ketu as well. So when Venus sits with a certain planet, it tells you what this person enjoys as well. It's enjoyment. It's also a planet of enjoyment and also lust. especially when sitting with Mars, because Mars is aggression when it comes to with Venus. It shows when it's talking specifically about lust, right?